días, cuentavientes. Bienvenidos a W Radio 96.9. Estamos en vivo a partir de este momento y hasta la 1 en punto de la tarde. Y saben ustedes que en realidad, miren, hasta suena como un error que este programa sea un programa de radio hablada, cuando en realidad lo que en lo más profundo de nuestro ser quisiéramos que este programa fuera un programa totalmente de música. Ya saben que nos damos nuestras paseaditas los viernes y hacemos viernes de recreo y jugamos mata-mesta y ponemos música. Y normalmente todos los días abrimos con contenido duro, con la pregunta del día y ya nos ponemos a chambear. Pero la verdad es que hoy teníamos que hacer una pausa y por eso tenemos de fondo una gran canción que se llama Fortunate Son, que para todos los que aman la música saben perfecto que esto es de Creedence, porque resulta ser que el 22 de abril en el Parque Bicentenario en la Ciudad de México viene un festival que se llama el Remind de GNP 2023, que es un festival que reúne la mejor música de varias décadas y la mejor propuesta gastronómica, todo esto al aire libre. Entonces, obviamente van a estar desde Kool and the Gang, ¿se acuerdan de Kool and the Gang? Desde She's Fresh hasta todo lo que se puedan imaginar, Celebration, pero La Gusana Ciega, pero Beto Cuevas, pero The Gypsy King. Y va a estar también Revisiting Creedence. Como ustedes saben, Creedence, Dan McGuinness y Griffey, voz principal y guitarra principal respectivamente, van a estar en este festival. Y es este sonido californiano de los 60s y 70s que no se puede pensar sin la banda Creedence. Y décadas van, décadas vienen, pero canciones como la que estamos oyendo, Fortunate Son, o Have You Ever Seen the Rain, o Green River, o Born on the Bayou, o Bad Moon Rising, las cantan desde quienes reventaban en los 60s y los 70s hasta las nuevas generaciones que verdaderamente aman y aprecian los clásicos de la música. Entonces, ¿qué tan suertuda soy que hoy tengo desde Chicago, originalmente irlandés, a Dan McGuinness? How are you, Dan? You're smiling. I assume you understood everything I said in Spanish.
No, not necessarily, but you named a list of great songs, and I'm just like so excited to get down there and sing them. So that's why I'm like, yes, I agree with you. Whatever you said, I agree with.
Well, we're so happy that you're on the show. I just said lovely things about the 60s and the 70s and about Creedence and about you and about Ireland and about everything.
Lots of lovely things, yeah.
Lots of lovely things. So when was the last time you were in Mexico, Dan?
Well, we were with Creedence Clearwater Revisited and Doug and Stu, and it was the end of February, so it was leap year 3 years ago, right before the pandemic. And we played Mexico City, we did Aguascalientes, and we were going home essentially on March 1st, right? And everybody was talking about this, the virus, and I'm like,
what did he say?
I felt so sheltered. I don't watch the news. I don't know what was going on. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so 3 years later, it's bittersweet because that was the end of touring for Creedence Clearwater Revisited, and great careers for Stu and Cosmo. And now here's Revisiting Creedence making our first trip to Mexico City. And we're just like elated. We're so excited.
I have this feeling that for musicians, no matter where you're from or what type of the music you play, Mexico is a very important market. Like, I'm originally born in Nicaragua, and I've never heard any musician say, oh, like a part of this tour, we have to go to Nicaragua. But Mexico is top of the list. And you were just saying to me off the air that you love playing for Mexico City.
Yeah, we do. And you're exactly right, because we did the Palacio de los Deportes a couple of times, and it's just, for an indoor arena, it's loud, it's energetic. As a singer, I'm singing and everybody is just roaring the words back at me, and that, to me, there's nothing better than that as a singer, when people are just screaming along with you. But we always thought with Revisiting Creedence, because of the pandemic, everything was slow building it. We always knew like we have to play Mexico City. And when we do, that'll be like, it's like a rebirth, a revival, if you want to put it that way, for us. So like, not only have we been looking forward to this for months, and the fact that it's, you know, a week or two away, and we just knew like we have to get down there. We have to play Mexico City. And now here we are, and we can't wait.
Now, I mean, you've been with, let me say, the Eagles and Toto and Foreigner and the Muriboos and Wings and the Spencer Davis Group and Lynyrd Skynyrd and Santana and Journey, and now Revisiting Creedence. You are playing for an audience that I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it does span almost like 3 generations. So what would be your explanations of why Creedence is still so part of our present?
Yeah, and the bands you mentioned, Kurt and our drummer Ron Wixow, have performed with those guys and members of those bands for years, and their resume, you know, Kurt hopefully should be joining us any minute.
Yeah,
you know, he could explain and elaborate just the mass list of talent that he has played with, and the experiences Kurt and Ron have played with. So having them play this music with us is just like, it's off the charts, really. And you mentioned 3 generations. Really, at the Creedence shows, we've seen 3, 4, and the beginnings of 5 generations of people, because you're seeing older folk who have been listening to music for 70, 80 years, and you're seeing, you know, young kids at the shows. There's just something about the music worldwide. Not a lot of bands have that. Creedence has always had that reach of, it doesn't matter how old you are. It has something for everybody. It's got great beats. It's got great lyrics. It's got great musicianship, but the music is so simple. When you listen to the records, there's no overplaying. There's not, you know, too much drums or too much guitar, or too much singing. They knew perfectly how to craft a song that just start to finish gave you everything you needed for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. And that's what makes them so much fun to play.
So everybody's excited. This is in a couple of weeks, which is April 22nd, Remind GNP, which is going to be at Parque Bicentenario in la Ciudad de México. So what should people expect, Dan, of this Revisiting Creedence?
I don't want to be blunt, but expect to have fun, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, what's the playlist? Have you decided the playlist? There's nothing more frustrating than going to this concert, waiting for your most favorite song to come on, and then they did not sing it.
Oh, well, I was just talking to Kurt. There he is. I was just talking to
Kurt. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
We were just talking about that this morning, and I'm like, you know, we should start putting together the set list, you know, because of, you know, you're only limited to so much time because of all the bands that day, and you're like, what do we do versus what do we don't do?
So what's the criteria? So what's the criteria?
Well, I mean, you know, Kurt can chime in. I mean, you got to have Proud Mary, you got to have Fortunate Son, Bad Moon.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked loosely about adding some other things that are, you know, for the diehard fans like myself and Kurt, you know, like you would want to hear if you went to a concert, like, oh, cool, they played that one or whatever. Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many hits, you know, with those guys, you know, it's kind of hard to fit them all into one show, but we try. And there's a few shows that are a few places where certain songs are more popular. Do I dare say it?
Of course, of course. Like, I'm wondering, what is, like, do you know what's really popular in Mexico City?
Well, the song that gets chanted all night long every time we're there is Molina.
Molina?
We get that.
But
they chant that all night long.
If we were to go and play that here in the States in Kansas, they wouldn't know.
Most people don't even know it, you know, here. They don't even know that song.
Well, that's really interesting. You were late in this conversation, Kurt, but actually what we were talking about just before you came in is, I mean, all these amazing bands and musicians that you played with, from Toto to Journey to Santana to Lincoln Skinner to whatever. And what is your explanation of why Creedence is such a transgenerational classic?
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like no other band really, because I mean, young people like it, old people like it, rock and roll guys like it, country music people like it. You know, it has such a wide appeal. There's so many elements in it, but at the same time, it's very simple. You know, so it's just those guys just really. I think they created something great without even really knowing it. You know, they didn't really try; it just happened. You know, I mean, obviously John Fogerty wrote, some great stuff, but I mean, there's just a chemistry there with Stu and Doug. I mean, that, Doug Clifford's drumming is it's simple, but it's so unique. You know, he really has his own thing, and I think it all came together. I don't know, there's something about that sound that really, it's hard to find anybody that doesn't like it, And there's so many, they did so many songs in such a short time. For me, all the bands that I played with, this is probably the band that people had the most fun, in the audience. I mean, people just have always had a blast at these shows.
Yeah.
It's just
we really hope
fun show.
You make the best decision on that playlist. That playlist is key.
Well,
That playlist is key. Now, I always ask this question to every musician I talk to. So this is 2023. What do you listen to? Like, I always wonder, when you're in a car driving to the supermarket, what do you obsess on? Like, what new acts are you into?
Well, for me, there's some bands that a lot of people haven't heard of. I discovered a new band a couple of years ago from the East Coast, like Boston area, called Lake Street Dive, and they're kind of a R&B kind of band that I thought's really cool. You don't hear them on the radio,
okay,
but I like that band a lot, and I like old country, Merle Haggard, Buck Owens, stuff like. I love stuff like that. It's.
I'm obsessed lately talking about country music, and I was playing the song the other day. I think in Mexico in general, we're not that into that so hardcore country music,
right?
That, like the Rascal Flatts.
Right. No, they. You don't hear them on the radio very much up here anymore, but they. Great band. Dan Huff, those guys. A guy that I vaguely knew a little, or met anyway. My wife used to date their guitar player before I ever met her. A band called Boy Howdy, Jeffrey Steele. He was the guy that wrote a lot of those Rascal Flatts hits. He was the songwriter.
That's
interesting.
In fact,
he wrote hits for everybody, but
well, Bless the Broken Road is my favorite. Dan, what are you listening to?
Well, when I'm driving down the street, I listen to myself yelling about the traffic. But I still listen to Creedence damn near every single day. I'm just hooked on it. But I like some of the newer bands. There's bands called The Shins. I like Lord Huron. I like Arcade Fire. But like Kurt mentioned, I love old classic vintage country. And I love Marty Robbins is one of my favorite singers of all time. But I also love certain heavy metal. I love Faith No More and Mr. Bungle and Slayer and stuff. So it's really just kind of whatever mood I'm in. And then there are days where I just love Neil Diamond. So I'm all over the place.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. People in Mexico are obsessed with Sweet Caroline, which is a song that I think is as worn out as I Will Survive from Hurricane.
Should we play it? No, just kidding.
I forbid you. I
played that song 2 nights ago.
Oh my God.
Caroline. Oh my God, it drives me nuts.
Yeah,
yes, I had to play that for somebody's birthday the other night.
Oh my God, you must really love them. You must really love them. Okay.
Yeah, they probably tipped well. That's why.
Yeah.
Guys, it's great talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in Mexico April 22nd, Revisiting Creedence. And this is Parque Bicentenario en la Ciudad de México, el Remind GNP 2023. Thank you so much for sharing yourselves with us this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.